to share these honest, raw, vulnerable exchanges with people who I thought I had all figured out was life-changing, to say the least.
I got a glitch.
Hello everyone, long time no talk. It's been a few months now since my last upload, and I'm finally in a place now where life is a lot more calm and settled, so I wanted to jump on and give you all an update from the past few months, and also say that my intent from here on out is to start uploading on a weekly basis again. I'm not going to put any type of pressure on myself to stick to that rigidly, but that is certainly the aim, so we'll see how we go, because I am just missing you all like crazy. So last time I uploaded, I was back in the US, where I was for 3 months just visiting family and friends and just really focusing on myself and my own healing following my split from my ex-partner last year. I am now back in Australia in my new home with an incredible housemate who I feel like I've been friends with for years, and just finally having my own place that feels like home and that I love and feel comfortable in, and that my pets love and are really happy in as well, just makes me so grateful. I could cry. But the last time I uploaded, or even the past few times that I uploaded, I was still very much in the thick of it when it came to my grieving process. But man, those 3 months in the US with my family, it was just the best possible thing for my soul. Not having to work or be concerned or stressed with just everyday obligations, and just really getting to focus on myself and nothing but myself was such a privilege and gift, and I feel so blessed to have been given the opportunity to do that for that amount of time. As those of you who have been around for a while are aware, I was really not in a good place following my breakup, and those 6 or so months afterwards were truly horrendous. That really was the darkest, scariest, loneliest chapter of my entire life, and I'm so grateful and relieved to report that although I certainly still experience waves of grief that need to be processed here and there, I'm probably the most comfortable and content I have ever been. I feel like I've truly come home to myself in a way that I never have before. Which leads me into the focus of this video, which is to just talk about my own grieving and healing process and what I now feel to be the fruits of that journey, and ways in which I feel my grief has transformed me in ways that I really value now. So if you're in the thick of your own healing, grieving, loss, or heartbreak, I hope at the very least this video is able to give you a bit of comfort in knowing that there is absolutely light at the end of the tunnel, because I know how absolutely impossible it can feel to have any type of hope when you feel like your entire being has just been shattered to the core. But before I get into that, I just want to stress that seeing the positives or trying to find some sort of silver lining amidst your own heartbreak is generally not very helpful, because when you're in the thick of it, that's exactly where you should be. So I don't want this video to come across as forcing some sort of toxic positivity, because denying your pain by constantly trying to look on the bright side is actually the exact opposite, I think, of what healing is truly about. There is a difference between having hope for a better reality to come and dismissing the reality of where you are right now. Healing is truly permitting and accepting your pain and where you are exactly as it is in the present moment. It's not trying to sugarcoat something that has absolutely devastated you. Instead, it's letting your heartbreak exist and not judging yourself for it or believing that you should be doing or being anything different or more. It's simply allowing yourself to break and gently holding yourself while you're broken. So if you're in that place right now, allow me to just remind you that you are exactly where you should be. That certainly doesn't mean that you have to like it. It just means that your pain is okay and it's welcome. You don't need to be doing anything else other than just simply allowing yourself to fall apart. And if that's all you're doing, then I assure you, you are doing such a beautiful job at moving through this incredibly difficult and gut-wrenching experience. And along with allowing myself to just fully and completely crumble and really just surrendering into that, something equally as important was allowing my support network and my loved ones to see that rawness and vulnerability and brokenness just as much. A huge learning curve for me throughout my grieving process was the realization that I could not do it alone. And that's probably what I'm going to be spending the bulk of this video discussing, is that healing is not done in isolation. Sure, there are a lot of self-soothing and solo processes that of course have to be implemented, but for someone like me who has always had a tendency to isolate and retreat when I felt like I wasn't showing up as my best self, it was a truly humbling and necessary experience to just admit to everyone around me that I was not okay, and to trust that they would show up and rally around me in whatever way that they could. And I had to really let go, or rather just acknowledge and gently take by the hand, yet move forward anyway, of that fear that my pain was a burden to those around me, that my brokenness wasn't too much, that I was worthy of love and attention and company and support even in that state, that I didn't need to pretend to be happy or wear a mask or act like everything was okay when it really wasn't. And if me showing up in my true state was too much for anyone, that wasn't at all a problem with me, but rather a reflection of other people's own uncomfortability, of their own pain or vulnerability during difficult times. And what else was really highlighted for me was this very strong, deep-rooted mistrust I had towards other people and their ability to be there for me in the way that I desired. I was so scared of just being let down and disappointed by my loved ones due to past experiences that it just felt easier to not even reach out at all, to at least avoid that disappointment. And you know what? That's a really valid fear. I'm not going to lie and say that I didn't ever feel disappointment by people's responses or lack thereof when I opened up about my struggles. But the moments where people did show up in a really genuine, empathetic way, which far outweighed those who didn't, made every bit of disappointment worth it. I had to accept that I could not heal without support and without being really fucking honest with those around me about where I was at and how I was feeling. Pretending doesn't get us anywhere. And by hiding, I rob my loved ones of the opportunity to at least try and be there for me. People can't help me unless I lay my cards out on the table and show them my truth. And doing that, especially when you're just inherently skeptical like I am, is really hard and scary and uncomfortable, but it's a practice I very consciously chose to do anyway. And relying on that help and support has humbled the absolute shit out of me. I need more than just myself to get through really difficult, painful times in my life. I have had to swallow my pride and accept that I am nowhere near above asking and receiving help and support. And that actually my pain isn't that fucking unique or special. And on the contrary, so many people around me did understand and did know the right things to say and did know how to show up for me and had either gone through really similar experiences themselves or at least felt very similar pain. And by sharing and showing my own vulnerability, it created a space for other people to open up and share things about their own life experiences that I knew nothing about. Certain family members who I've known my entire life opened up and shared things with me about their own traumas that I likely would have never have learned if I hadn't have been willing to drop my own armor first. And just being able to share these honest, raw, vulnerable exchanges with people who I thought I had all figured out was life-changing, to say the least. And that leads me to another positive outcome of this experience, which is that it has softened me a lot. I think that we often assume, or at least I often assume, that people often harden up as a result of painful life experiences. And I think for me, historically, that has absolutely been the case. I recognize that a lot of painful events, particularly those to do with relationship losses or relational traumas, have made me harder and more cynical. And I realize now that in a lot of ways, allowing painful events to harden me was a choice. I chose, although perhaps probably not consciously, to come out of those experiences more closed off because it felt like doing so would protect me from more pain. When in reality, closing myself off has just kept me from connection. It's made me lose out and shut myself off to what could have been really meaningful, valuable connection. It's made me really quick to react and jump the gun and sever connection with certain friends, for example, because of feeling or seeing hints at things from my past repeating themselves, and therefore having this really knee-jerk, quick get them before they get you or shut them out reaction. And I think that's a huge shame. I have grace and forgiveness towards that part of myself that was just trying to protect myself from more harm. But I also recognize that that isn't a space I want to operate from or approach the world from anymore, because it doesn't serve me or the person that I want to be. I don't want to be cold and cynical. I would rather get hurt and disappointed from time to time than shut myself off from genuine love, connection, and trust with as many people as possible. So I truly feel that I am a softer, more gentle, more compassionate, more patient version of myself than I was a year ago. And that isn't by accident. I had to accept that whatever I was doing or whatever protective mechanisms I had created for myself over the years were not working and weren't serving me in a way that I found much value in anymore. And this experience of letting go of judgment towards myself throughout my own healing and grieving process has naturally extended outwards as well. A little bit of grace goes a really, really long way and can be very much underestimated. And by choosing to approach situations with more of that grace towards not only myself but others, has created this really beautiful symbiotic experience where I'm kinder and softer towards myself, and therefore I'm softer towards others, and then they feed more of that kindness and softness back to me, and so on and so forth. But again, that's had to be very intentional. I know that my past habits of isolating and retreating and shutting off haven't resulted in any type of genuine happiness or peace. So I've had to really consciously choose to show up in ways that I otherwise wouldn't. And to give an example of this, there was a moment in the US. I was staying at my brother's place, and I was having a really low day, and I was just in the bedroom at his house, just crying, just on the bed sobbing, and I heard my brother and his partner out in the kitchen, just, you know, going about their business. I think they're making dinner. And I consciously I didn't stop crying, but I stood up, and, you know, I didn't try and clean myself up or do anything to make myself more presentable. I just walked out into the kitchen exactly how I was, complete mess and all. And, you know, my brother and his partner, of course, they looked at me kind of shocked and concerned and wondering what was going on and if I was okay. And I just simply said, I am having a really hard day today, and I'm just really sad. And, you know, there was no real further explanation needed. And my brother just walked over to me and just gave me a hug and just held me in his arms, and I just sobbed. And we did that, all three of us together, for like well over an hour. And doing something like that is something I never in my wildest dreams would have done. To actively choose to remove myself from the comfort of an isolated bedroom and not to try and wipe my face or pretend like I was totally fine, and instead allow someone outside of myself to see me and receive me in that really messy, vulnerable state. But it took me truly accepting that I was okay and lovable in that state to then feel safe enough to show that to someone else, and therefore allow them to confirm that yes, I was lovable and okay in that state as well. I've realized this video is probably getting a bit long, so perhaps I'll do a second or even third part where I just talk about the outcomes or epiphanies or learning experiences that I've had throughout and post my breakup and healing journey. But if nothing else, I hope what I've shared in this video has been relatable to some of you and perhaps encourages more of you to just accept where you are right now, and also, and perhaps even equally as importantly, to share it with those around you, to allow them to see the truth of where you're at right now, and allow them to support and help you in whatever way that they can. I think that's the main takeaway from what I've shared so far. You feeling irreparably broken right now is okay. And it's through accepting that and allowing it to just be exactly how it is right now that you will ultimately move through this and find peace again. Like I said, it's certainly an ever-evolving process for me, but I could not have fathomed 5-6 months ago that I would be feeling as content and, dare I say, even as good as I often do right now. And I truly think it's a result of just allowing myself to be fucking sad for as long as I needed to be, and not even remotely attempting to filter that for those around me. So I promise you are not wallowing or being negative by accepting yourself for your brokenness right now, or being brave enough to share that with your support network. You are okay. Your pain is okay. You are exactly where you need to be right now. You don't need to be doing or being anything different than who and what you are in this very moment. And surrendering into that does not mean that you will be stuck here forever. I promise. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you all so much. I've missed you like crazy. It feels so freaking good to be back. Thank you all so much for watching as always, and I will hopefully be back here next week.
Tell me what was in that stuff you gave me. I think I like it. In fact, it made me high.